always hung out with the girls. Always hung out with the girls. Always hung out with the girls they accepted me.
Hi, and welcome to the Fluid Voice. I am Ozma In The Dark, still here, still using she/they pronouns for the purposes of activism and fighting for general human rights. I am here with Christy. How are you doing, Christy?
Hi, I'm Christy. I utilize she, her pronouns for the purposes of finally getting my sinuses clear because it's been rainy in Buffalo.
It's been rainy here as well. And we're here.
I feel it's raining all over the world.
Yes, we're here with Joey. How are you doing, Joey?
I am doing okay. I'm still using they, them pronouns for my own nefarious purposes.
Yes, and today the topic is definitely not super last minute. No, well, I mean it was, but like today the topic is how fucked is Trump? On a scale of 1 I think it's like on a scale of 1 to fucked. How fucked is Trump? I'm not sure.
Oh, super fucked.
He's fucked, but I think he's fucked in a way that we cannot possibly like he's not going to go to the same kind of prison that we'd go to.
Oh, definitely not.
You know, they're not going to send him to regular freaking prison. They're going to send him to white collar prison. And he's still going to get his Secret Service because they'll still have to protect him no matter where he is.
Yeah. Yeah, no, he is I guess the first question is do you think any of the charges will take effect before his next attempt at a presidential, or like the actual presidential run? Or do you think he'll get a chance? I mean, I do too, but do you think he'll be able to run or whatnot, or do you think the charges will beat him out, Christy?
Oh, he is able to run. He could run unless he's convicted. Unless he's convicted of these specific charges, he could run.
Oh, wait, no, couldn't he run in prison?
Yeah, he can, but these specific charges are prevent you from running. It's a very tight concept.
That's what I was thinking. I was thinking these specific charges. There's one specific charge that he's facing that if he's found guilty on, he can't run for office.
Sedition.
Yeah, although...
And that's like any office. That includes like all the way down to dog catcher once you've gotten...
Yep.
Yeah, although... if he gets... I think... It's significantly reduced the number of people who would vote for him if he was running from prison. If I recall correctly. I'm not sure how many people would vote. I mean, obviously the extreme base would vote for him. Like, yeah. he'd still be able to get, like, you know, 20, maybe 30% tops, I feel like, of the Republican Party. Maybe that's just my opinion.
I think that's a fair guesstimate.
I can't remember because I know numbers were run on this, and I feel like it was something like that at the highest, or whatnot. Because, but then again, who knows? Because sometimes people say they won't, and then they would just to not have a Democrat in office.
Because people are weird.
Conversation scholar Tucker Carlson and a few Fox pundits have said for a long time that it's still legal for him to run for office from prison because the GOP still has zero integrity. Well, I mean, Tucker Carlson doesn't represent all of the GOP.
Nope.
I mean, the GOP has no integrity, and there is a chance they might still do that, but
They've got
don't
DeSantis
know.
though.
Yeah, but DeSantis is Diet Trump. That's the problem. Like, people, if they're not saying it's okay for Trump, then why would those people want DeSantis or whatever? Because DeSantis would have to some degree, work with the GOP. Like, what's there'd have to be something outside the GOP saying that Trump can't run for DeSantis to be able to get the same support, I feel like. I say Diet Trump. He's Discount Trump? I don't know. DeSantis is horrible and he wants to be like Trump, but like the problem is the people who want that would rather vote for Trump. So
Yeah,
Trump,
well,
yeah, it's kind of a losing strategy because for primary or whatnot.
yeah. He's. I think the crazy kins of him is starting to wear on people, which, good.
If only it wore on the Floridians. Uh, uh, Fox is the propaganda for the GOP. Says when GOP primary unless Trump is literally in jail, and that's only because the big money backers wouldn't back Trump. Then, I'm yeah. I mean, well, if he gets a charge that prevents him from running, yeah, well, I mean. Then again, who knows? This is such a weird time to be alive. To be fair.
Isn't it? I mean, really. Like, I guess when I was young, I knew that times would be weird because, global climate chaos and everything. We knew that was coming.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I didn't realize just how discombobulated everyone would be. Like, it seems like with the climate chaos has come this other sort of weird chaos among some of the most extreme political factions.
Yeah, and there's also a pandemic on top of that.
Yeah, there was that too.
But I think people got complacent as things slowly moved right. In at least some of the Republican Party, at the very least, slowly moved right. I'm pretty sure there are aspects of Reagan that were right of Nixon. Actually, Reagan's a lot of the problems. Nixon was a terrible person, but Reagan helped keep things far too static with the Republican Party, I feel like.
I have a lot to say about Reagan, but I will not.
Fair.
Yeah, everything's mean.
Yeah, he was terrible.
That guy was horrific. Absolutely horrific.
Too many of my people died.
I was just old enough to care about politics, but not old enough, nowhere near old enough to vote when Reagan got elected president.
Second term, I voted for Mondale, so. That's...
Yeah, so the interesting thing about this is just, to some degree, there is a drama factor to just seeing all the because how many places is Trump being getting in legal trouble, or finally getting in legal trouble for stuff he did in the past?
My God, it's for everything. Everything. He's got like so many. When people are like talking about the trial, I'm like, which one? He's got so many pending ones that he's just got done with, ones that he's like still got left to go.
Well, yeah, and some that seem to be put on hold to collaborate with other more important trials, like, and then there's lots of people who have done talking there about Trump. So conversation caller 4, to my knowledge, multiple counts in each, Georgia and DC, especially Florida. I feel like I feel like there's more. Maybe just legal cases against Trump. So there's New York City, Georgia, Washington D.C. There's the civil case. Okay, so there's Stormy Daniels hush money. That's New York County or whatnot.
Queens County. No, sorry, Kings County. Kings County.
Gotcha. Election tampering in Georgia. U.S.
tampering in Georgia. Oh, sorry.
Classified documents at Mar-a-Lago, or specifically the willful retention of classified documents, which that one's the U.S. District Court, the PC. January 6th in 2020 election aftermath. GOJ. E. Jean Carroll. That's a civil case. That's a New York Supreme Court. Business fraud in New York. That's New York County. Okay, so maybe it is just those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 at the moment, which is still a lot. And it's just, yeah, it's just a lot. And it was the multi-level marketing pyramid scheme case? Huh. Is that one of the ones mentioned? Michael Cohen's legal fees. Maybe there's even more. Michael Cohen's imprisonment case. Electric Avenue copyright case. Okay, maybe. Okay. There might be more than I. There's too many to keep track of, and or at least more than my brain wants to keep track of.
Even if it is white collar prison, I want to see him go to jail so bad. They still shackle you. They still give you hideous jumpsuits.
I mean, you're saying that, but based off of how like his trials have gone and the two-tier justice system or whatever, it's very much hard to imagine like actual stuff.
And I'm also afraid that because they're making such a big stink about it on the far right, that you're going to have President Biden then going, you know what, maybe we should pardon him.
No.
No. Look, Biden might have thought that way at the start of things, but I think after everything that's come out, I'm not sure Biden would. I'm not sure that would be a wise move by Biden, especially because a lot of independents and Republicans also want Trump in jail. Like, I think there are a lot of Republicans that want Trump out of their hands. That's my opinion. Like, but it's not outside the realm of possibility, but I don't think so. I really don't. At this point. Context wrench mentions much of Florida doesn't like DeSantis either. Gerrymandering is strong. Just checking chat. Context wrench, he might enjoy the shackles too much. I'm not aware. I'm not aware of Trump's views on bondage kink, but like I can't remember.
Well, Stormy Daniels said something about him wanting to be spanked with a Time magazine with him on the cover of it or something like that.
Oh dear. Yeah, I mean that. Yeah, I don't. You know what? Just gonna say it now. I don't want to know. I was not aware of that knowledge, and I regret being aware of any knowledge about Trump's sex life.
Sorry.
Yeah. Nobody wants to. Nobody wants to know. It's so sad.
But mostly because Trump is involved.
Yeah.
I do want to stay committed to not kink shaming or whatnot. It's just Trump being involved just makes everything gross.
Yeah, it just makes it hideous.
Once again, not because of his personality, because of who he is. But yeah. Oh. I almost need a palate cleanser. Maybe this wasn't a good idea to bring up Trump. I'm already feeling ill from talking about him too much. Yeah, no, I wonder at what point the GOP will finally, because right now they don't want to drop them for terrible, just asinine reasons or whatnot. It's very much a lose situation for the GOP right now. Because it's like can't win a primary without him, but like can't win the general election with him. Yes, Beast Nation, I do feel like I need a shower. Just because of the aura of Trump. Contact certain ways no longer useful. They'll drop him, not before. Yeah. But it's the question of where is their line? What is the at what point does Trump stop being useful to the GOP?
Yeah, they have to get to the
year ago?
point.
Roughly a year ago that I could tell.
I'm seeing he's still a lightning rod for money. I'm seeing never in chat. I don't think never, because like they're members of the GOP who already are opposed to Trump related stuff, like openly opposed to it, and it's slowly creeping out. It's just the majority of the GOP, like far too much of the GOP. Well, okay, it's not. Actually, but it's not technically a bad thing for the GOP to screw themselves. It's just it's an odd choice. Usually they're smarter in being awful, but they may have also just taken too much cake and thought they could keep going with that.
Yeah.
They thought they could have their cake and eat it too.
Or eat their cake and have it too, as would be better.
Yeah. They wanted to simultaneously have cake and have that cake be consumed by them.
Yes.
A cake that is simultaneously in and out of their stomach. No,
Schrodinger's cake.
yeah.
They
Because
ran Schrodinger's cake and it ended up being a cow pucky.
Well, it's one of those things where, like,
Because that's what that guy is. He's a shit sandwich.
yeah, well, I mean, yeah, and to some degree he was inevitable, but because of what the GOP has been doing. So, like, first off, you can only go so far with gerrymandering.
Right? I
Um,
mean, your shit is unpopular. It's so unpopular that you had to gerrymander yourself into power.
yeah, so there's that fact, and then there's them trying to stay static, and then there's or shift to the right or whatever and keep shifting to the right, and then they're surprised when fascism pops up, which not all of the GOP supports fascism. They just want to get as close to fascism, as close to authoritarian fascist regime as they can without hitting the authoritarian mark. It's yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's so weird. Uh, I mean, technically, it's something that could have worked, but it would have ended in fascism, which some of them didn't want. So, I mean, some of them do currently, and some of them probably did want. You have the yeah. Oh, did I totally forgot to put the captioning on. No. Who was that guy? The four Pence. Like, yeah, Pence didn't decide to go all the way down into fascism, but like I didn't expect that because he's so far right that it's a surprise that he didn't go all the way. You know what I mean?
No. He's Pence. He's got problems. Just problems. Let's leave it there.
Yeah. It You know what? You what? I don't understand the GOP.
Oh, really?
Well, okay, money. Like, a
No.
majority of them is money, and the other is... Or no. Money
If you
and... Oh, go on. Sorry.
generally, if you think that the world is basically good, you are going to be on the left. If you think the world is basically bad, you're going to be on the right. Every accusation is a confession is a thing with them. So I don't know what to do about it, but there you go.
Pence is a Christian veterans. I mean, he should... But he didn't go all the way with the fascism. He had the opportunity to. And he got cold feet. So either he probably wants everything with regards to Christian fascism, but he didn't want to. He saw it and he got scared, I'm guessing, because
Pence believes that the Constitution is essentially a Christian document.
yeah.
So his tie up in trying to reconcile, and it wasn't him that decided it in the end. Dan Quayle called him, or he called Dan Quayle. That part is unclear. He spoke to Dan Quayle, and Dan Quayle said, you got a job. It's right there in the Constitution. You don't get to not do it. And you invoke the Constitution to someone who finds it biblical writ, then he's going to go, shit, I can't reconcile these two things, so I have to go with biblical writ. Does that make any sense? I hope so.
I mean, there's so many other contradictions with their thought processes with Constitution.
Yeah, well.
Not to mention that there's just the simple fact that they're adhering to this ancient freaking document that has been needing updates for how long now? Like, there's things that we need to write into that document so that they can't be shaken. Certain things like human rights.
Yeah.
Well,
but that's not going to happen.
Not without everything seriously falling apart anyways.
Yeah.
Because that's the kind of thing that I can see happening with younger generations as they take over. Is just a big shakeup in politics. Because the younger generations are overwhelmingly progressive.
yeah. But he also just it always feels like there isn't enough time. Like, with how many problems there are. And, how long it's taken certain politicians to die of old age.
Well, yeah.
No kidding. Some of these ancient freaking people hang on for so long. Well, they have great health coverage. So
Yeah.
it makes it a lot easier. I mean, look at what they did for Cheney. He even got a heart.
So to speak.
Yeah, right.
All right.
I mean,
He was there.
yeah, no, it was. That is, correct. Yeah, offenses per life sports death penalty, and I'm seeing argument about whether or not when he can or cannot talk to a woman who's not his wife. But yeah, the right's view on the Constitution, the Bible, are like kids arguing about Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh cards, secret pledges and such. I mean, yeah, no, that does sound like that does actually bring me back. Those sorts of pedantic arguments that don't really matter, but like also people make matter way too much. I suppose it was also more Magic the Gathering versus Yu-Gi-Oh in my high school. Maybe that's just me.
Yo, nerd babe, when we kiss, it's magic. The Gathering. Not my line, believe it or not. It's from a song called Nerd Girls.
Oh. I am not aware of that song.
Oh, by Schaefer the Dark Lord.
I'm not familiar with it either.
Really? I would suggest Nerd Girls and Cat Girls
Okay.
as the two songs to listen to from Schaefer, just because they're fun. But in that order. No, Cat Girls first and then Nerd.
Okay. Well, I'm going to send everyone new links in a second. Just so we're not cut off too suddenly. Okay. Everyone will be back in a moment. I gotta get the... There. Peace Nation, I saw a video of a therapist. So we talk about that. Oh, about the Happy Shining People shows about Christian trauma or something like that. Huh. I did see a review of that. Isaiah find passages in Bible or take stuff out of context that support their ideas.
The water whisper, little cat on the top of every whisper, the front part, they give it the back end. She can swipe like this.
Christy, I can hear whatever you're watching.
I was Cat People by Schaefer the Dark Lord. I thought you'd actually have caught what I was doing, but it probably didn't come out clear.
Uh, but yeah, so out of curiosity, if Trump were to win the primary and then end up in jail, would it be possible for them to they can't take him off the primary then, can they? Or can they? The GOP. Once the primary's over, that's set in stone, right?
I don't know. I don't know how that works. I don't know enough about my own country's politics to answer that question.
I mean, to be fair, this is
we're in new territory. This is like nobody's ever been here with a past president.
No. But as long as he's a past president, that's much preferred.
Oh, definitely. Like it'd be nice if, you know, he stays in the past along with his policies, in that he doesn't end up dealing with future presidential stuff. Just, yeah. And yeah, obviously I don't think anyone should get too complacent, because we've dealt with so much weird stuff that we can't have a fluke. And a atypical weird fluke situation where Trump ends up back in power, that's not something that
yeah, that can't happen.
Well, it
Things
can
will go to hell. I mean, it can in the sense that it can, statistically, there's a possibility. But I mean, it can't happen in that if it does, so many of us are totally fucking screwed.
Yeah.
Like, that additional 4 years would be an absolute nightmare.
Sorry, I live in Minnesota. We're just gonna secede to Canada.
I've always wanted, I wanted Buffalo to be. I always am offering Buffalo to Canada. They never seem to take me up on it. It's a very clean city, got lots of trees.
I want to know if you can, like, volunteer to be colonized by another country. Like, can you just, if enough people in your country just volunteered, can we just become Finnish?
So I think there's a few problems with first off, Finland, I don't think so.
Well, I was just tossing that out as an example of countries that I'd rather be living in.
I think possibly when it comes to international law, but not United States law. So, and stuff would get real complicated real fast. It's just one of those weird things, because if Trump were to somehow get reelected, based off of what Minnesota's been doing lately, I have no idea what would happen with Minnesota. like as soon as the DFL got in power, like a million helpful things got passed for the general populace, and it's just like along with there's still the trans protection law, which ignores other state stuff. So like I don't know. There's been enough wild stuff with Minnesota trying to be the most left-wing state. I don't know what this state would do.
Yeah, I'm kind of jelly about that. I live in a state that like would prefer to see my kind dead. I just do. And
I mean,
a
to be fair,
sad
Minneapolis
state of affairs, but
Minneapolis police have kind of had that attitude as well from what I've heard. I can't remember when I heard it. It's just the anti-Indigenous policy. I think it's because of the DOJ.
well, yeah, but that's like
Looking
cops
into
everywhere in the
Minneapolis.
United States with Native Americans.
Yeah,
Like even our own cops, our own Bureau of Indian Affairs cops, they're there to make sure that we understand that we are wards of the government. And you can tell by the way that people are treated, even though usually the Bureau of Indian Affairs police are Native Americans too. But just like with anybody, you can internalize all kinds of bigotry.
yeah.
Well, yeah. Unfortunate, but true. I mean, we have Blair White for us.
I mean, there's Blair White and the arguably worst person, Buck Angel.
Yeah. So sorry.
I do appreciate the closed captioning saying that I said fuck Angel instead of Buck Angel, but
Did it really?
yeah, now it's saying Black Angel. Look, closed captioning is not perfect for happening during live streams. It's just YouTube closed captioning is very shaky at best. But yeah, it's look, I guess the most important thing is if people can continue to speak out, and that there so long as there doesn't end up being, how should I put it, the regular person who doesn't think things will be as bad as they are, or doesn't think things are as bad as they are. I don't know. I recently watched stuff about World War II or whatever, and the build up with that, and the people who weren't like, didn't hate Jewish people, but were like more concerned with the financial benefits of the Nazi Party, and didn't think that, was like, very much had the attitude of, oh, they say they'll do that, but they won't really do that. they won't really go that far type stuff. And it's just like, oof.
Yeah, there's a reason that it's we're saying never again.
Okay, I just gotta say it.
Oh
Why
shit!
so
Sorry,
believe the Brit?
sorry. My YouTube channels tend to wander to start randomly.
Yeah. But yeah, never again means never again.
Yep. And those policies were based on the United States and our treatment of Native Americans. And so, like, that attitude has been festering here in the United States since its inception.
Yeah, there are some of the early policies that got pressured in, some of the occasional times of actual force change at least made it harder for United States to go towards authoritarianism, and we haven't had we've had a government that tried to go full authoritarianism, but we haven't technically had a fully authoritarian government in since before the revolution. We've had like a government of privileged people, and we still have like some oligarchical elements. It's just the main difference between us and the biggest difference between us and Germany prior to World War II is they went from a king, essentially, or like whatever, Kaiser or whatnot, to a democracy. And it's a lot easier to swing back if you haven't had the democracy part for too long.
Well, shit, the way we're acting.
Yeah, no, it's bad. I mean, we're still like we're still a nationalistic colonial state. We've been doing varieties of colonial stuff, and we still have nationalistic propaganda or whatnot to try to just fight all the America is number one stuff that got thrown around forever and just got presumed by some people to be like some sort of law from God type thing.
We're on a mission from God.
Hey, that's Chicago. That's different. But it's just America could go in several directions, and one of those directions is authoritarianism. But a lot of people got screwed by the last attempt. So
I think that civil war that the right is always on about would actually happen if they actually did take power and became an authoritarian government, because you've got the majority of people against it. I mean, it's just that simple. They have gerrymandered themselves into power. I get that. But their policies are, by definition, the least popular policies literally on the planet. Like, there are warlords in certain places that actually treat their populations better than how these authoritarian jackasses want to treat the vast majority of Americans. I mean, we're talking about a theocracy, essentially. That's what they're opting for.
Yeah.
I don't like theocracy. Just putting that out there.
I don't like theocracy, and also it's frustrating that people that want it because it's unconstitutional.
Well, not unconstitutional if you ask Mike Pence. He's cool. Well, to get into that explanation would be really long, so don't make me do it. Yeah, there's a how theocracy works with a constitution like ours is a thing. That is a thing that can happen.
Well, don't they usually start citing the majority of the quote-unquote founding fathers at the time and thinkers and stuff of that nature at the time?
Yeah.
And then that then sparks them to come up with all this. Well, the founding fathers intended that this and this and this and this happen. Which, that's why I have a big issue with involving the founding fathers. Like, they came up with an idea that on the surface actually isn't half bad.
Yeah.
If the equality is applied to everyone. Like, everyone has to have the same equality for this idea to work. And then the idea is actually a really good idea. It just doesn't work with capitalism.
No.
And it definitely doesn't work with any kind of theocracy.
Nope.
Yeah, well, that's probably because, I mean, there's the stuff that the founding fathers did, and there's the stuff that was heavily pushed for by Thomas Paine and people in that ilk, which was not always popular by the founding fathers, but gets incorporated with them. And then Thomas Paine gets misquoted by conservatives, much like conservatives like to misquote Martin Luther King Jr.
Oh, Paine was a radical atheist socialist, so, you know.
Yeah. People like to excuse, like, the majority of the founding fathers being okay with slavery. Thomas Paine was not okay with slavery. And that's probably one of several reasons why Thomas Paine was hated.
Yep. It's the thing.
Yeah, no. And not that Thomas Paine is like a perfect person, but like, you can have much there are better examples in the 1700s than Thomas Jefferson for when it comes to people who are good.
Yeah.
Or at least better than their compatriots that were alive at the time.
Yeah.
Because by our standards, most of these people, I mean, shit, by our standards, none of them even have the education that most of us have by the time we graduate high school. Like, we're talking about, yeah, they were learned men, but they were also not nearly as cognizant of reality as we are. Like, we know how shit works a lot more than they did. They would be absolutely floored and be unable to navigate a modern world, even with plenty of people to help them.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is why, like, it makes more sense to try to work for a better future than to hold up people from the past.
Exactly. Let's do a 2.0.
Because, like, yeah, they messed up a lot because they're from the past. We can work towards better. You know, we have people now who would want to end slavery and not ship every non-white person they could find that were originally from Africa to, like, some other country that's not United States. Like, integration, people nowadays are there's a large amount of people nowadays who are in favor of integration. It's this shock.
What? No.
Yeah, not even Abraham Lincoln was a major fan of integration. Yeah,
Oh.
it's almost like we learn from the mistakes of the past.
Yeah.
Imagine how much we could learn if we actually learned the true and accurate history, like without all the colonizer washing, like without all the propaganda, just the bare bones facts, and get to be able to like talk about like how things have influenced from that past, from all the bad stuff that happened, and how we can change it so that the future is actually really good. But we can't change it unless we actually learn about that dark fact. Like, we have to accept that it was bad, that the founding fathers were ignoramuses compared to what we have today. We have available to us as thinkers in a modern world people who have taken into account all of that and are able to say things like, here's what we need to do for reparations, and reparations takes us a step closer towards healing. It takes a major step towards healing. But we need to make reparations because there's dark chapters in our collective history that we were a part of And maybe it's not us directly, but we're all benefiting from that darkness that happened. Like, I get to go to a strip mall and do some shopping. Like, I can do this because certain things have happened over the course of a history where some of the people who are doing the shopping there with me have not had the opportunities that should have been afforded to them.
Yep.
Yeah. How we gloss over so much stuff. There is so much stuff that's just not taught in schools. There's so much bad stuff. And just like, I feel, I mean, to be fair, it's a lot. Like, you could probably fill you could probably fill a book with all the awful stuff that Kissinger did.
Many people have.
Man, right? Just that one person alone.
Yeah, he like, it's so, I mean, there's a lot, and there's some aspects of the country that is slowly moving towards being more open, but it's way too slow. Or at least I always feel everything's way too slow. Now that I'm aware of some stuff, I'm like, no, there's a lot of stuff that just needed to happen a while ago. And I mean, to be fair, that's where you get the benefits and the drawbacks of the internet.
Yeah, I had such bigger hopes of what the internet was going to be used for when I was young. Like, I was so full of hope.
I don't remember hope.
Oh, sorry.
I'm just stubbornness.
I went to therapy and relearned how to hope, and now I'm annoyed. Because the thing is, people are learning this stuff that's not in history books, and that's part of the reason why there's a lot of social push to the left. But that's also part of the reason because it's the internet, and people, depending on where you live, determines what you're taught. And if you're taught much more conservative things, it's a lot easier to fall into the sort of right-wing rabbit holes or whatnot. And then you have people getting pushed to the far right. Like, I think it's technically a net positive just due to exposure, but like,
There's got to be a way to somehow enculture just kids so that they're constantly questioning authority. Like, there needs to be more attempts at teaching kids how to deprogram their own thinking.
well, I mean, it I don't think it can be that simple, because there are ways you can question authority, and that can also lead you down conspiracy theory rabbit holes if you depending on how you question things or whatever. Generally there needs to be a thought process in terms of I guess thinking about, figuring out what sources you trust for what information.
Yes.
Because the AP News is relatively reliable to a decent degree for a sizable chunk of the news or whatever. Not international news, I don't think, necessarily. I don't know how reliable the AP News would be for that, but yeah, I don't know. There's corporate news generally wants to get whatever is the most sensational and whatever gets the most emotional motivation or whatnot, or the biggest emotional reaction. That's what most corporate news sites are going to go for. And there's some, I guess, soft regulation with corporate news outlets, but yeah, it just depends. I guess it all depends on how much you trust sources and why or why not.
I don't trust anything. No, I'm messy. I trust lots of stuff. I'm weird that way.
I mean, it's easy to default to that, but there's also ways in which some place can be like, don't trust anyone but us.
Yeah.
That they're concerning rabbit holes that you also don't want to go into. But you should also
in an imperialist nation, you can't trust like so much of the propaganda.
yeah. You just have to know what's propaganda and what's not. But if we're talking about like, so what the government says is irrelevant almost to what the general goals of the likely goals of the government are, which are to propagate America being a more powerful nation or whatnot. That's generally the goals of an imperialist nation, just any imperialist nation. How they do it or how they plan on doing that varies from nation to nation, but generally you can get a good idea. It is possible to get an idea of the goals. Not all. A lot of people in high enough seats of power, generally, that's more likely to be the sort of goal. So, like, you know, it's more beneficial for the American government to prevent poor immigrants and make sure only better off immigrants enter the nation. So creating tiered systems is beneficial to some degree. Now, if we're talking about the capitalist element of things, people would make argument that you'd want at least a supply of impoverished people for companies to exploit or whatnot for labor. And yeah, so that's why people have different attitudes in terms of what they focus on, usually in terms of what they think will empower the nation, because of the imperialist colonialist nature of, at least that's my thought process. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it boils down to what you define as power and how it is that you want to wield it. Because if you know what power is and you want to wield it in a good, non-toxic way, then you make completely different choices than you do if you're, well, not to put too fine a point on it, a Christian. Because a Christian has a certain idea of what is quote unquote good, and they have a book to go by, and that book is pretty freaking bloody and pretty fascist in and of itself. I mean, it claims to be the teachings of a guy that it's just not it's not his teachings in the Bible. It just isn't.
Yeah, I mean, it gets way more complicated when it comes to religion, because there was like an active fascist takeover with regards to Christianity, in terms of and trying to reword things to, like, cherry pick aspects of the Bible that are pro-capitalist. And although there were some pro-imperialist things, and there's some Oops. Okay. Sorry about that. Shit. I'll wait for Christy's voice to connect. Or sound to connect. Okay, I'm not that patient. Yeah, no, it gets... It is possible for religion to be interpreted differently by different people. And at the moment, the white nationalists and the Christian takeovers of the majority of Christianity that's taught today. I mean, there were always fascist elements in it, and there were always things in it. It's just there were different focuses by different groups depending on when in America. And I can't remember the name of the person. There was like a person who was actively promoting a cherry-picked version of Christianity that made it much more in favor of authoritarianism and much more in favor of capitalism, despite all the things that are not for capitalism in the Bible.
Well, Pat Robertson was one of those prosperity gospel assholes.
Yeah. I can't remember the name of the person. There was like someone in the 30s who is he had a nickname too, about like being an apostle for millionaires or something like that. It's some weird shit like that. And he just got funded to I will get Christy. Oh, there we go. As soon as possible. Yeah. It's... There was a concerted...
Here we go. That's better.
Oh, no, I could hear my... Oh, wait, no, I can't. Okay, good. There was a concerted effort to... focus, basically try to have the most capitalist version of Christianity in America, and that started in like 20s or the 30s, when there were a lot of Christian socialists, and there was
I was just gonna say, if you follow the teachings of Christ himself, the dude, isn't he pretty much a socialist?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, no, they're and I wish I remembered the person off the top of my head. They're you know what? James Fifield Jr. Nicknamed the Apostle to Millionaires. Considered instrumental for... basically a pastor who was considered instrumental for I believe it's listed here, the unholy alliance of corporate-funded Christianity and Christian identity politics in the United States. If you want to look up about someone to hate for that stuff, it's James Fifield Jr. And there wasn't a good enough counter to that. Religion gets complicated. because that also ties in with identity. So if you attack religion, you risk attacking identity or whatnot instead of. I think it's more helpful in my mind to point out to try to get people on board with the actual socialistic aspects or the other stuff. Stuff like love thy neighbor as yourself is like supposed to be the most important thing, but
Yep.
like
It's complicated. This is my area, and you notice I'm staying right out of it.
fair given how close we are to probably should be wrapping up. that is fair. And I realize, and I am aware of some of the nitpicky elements of things, because that can. Yeah, no, you know what? Just. Yeah, I know, you're right. You're right.
It just doesn't make much sense to me that you can get out of the same Bible such disparate views.
Yeah. I mean, same with the Torah and Tanakh, or whatnot. But yes.
And then to go on to think that that same book has any answers for you. That's what gets me. Because I didn't grow up in it. And so, to me, the Bible is just another book. It might as well be the whatever else. You can name anybody else's religion and their holy book or scriptures or whatever. And I believe in them about the same. It just so happens that Christianity is the dominant religion of the colonizers that I had to grow up around.
Yep.
And so
Yeah.
what I've picked up by looking from the outside in. And it's a different perspective from the outside in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know nearly as much as somebody who's blown up their shit from the inside out, because, there's been plenty of people who have gone into fully studying their religious texts, and they have in that way become atheists and essentially blown up their shit from the inside out, and so I don't know as much as people like that. Typically, when you're talking about atheists who can quote scripture, which I've seen before, and which is an impressive thing to watch, an atheist and a theist kind of doing their weird scripture battles. I find that entertaining as a non-believer and a non-Christian. In my whole life, I find that entertaining to watch, is watching them use scripture against each other. But
yeah, they're all fun.
Yeah, I think oftentimes the more you know about those sort of texts, the easier it is to become an atheist.
Just a bit. Yes.
Mine
But
was
yeah.
a really deisty sort of religion. It's not exactly a religion per se. Lakota beliefs are they're more spiritual than they are religious. And I'm not really sure what spiritual means anymore to myself. But it's definitely not the same sort of thing. It's not like an organized religion. It still has religious aspects of it. I still felt as if I escaped. But when I look at what I grew up with believing, compared to what Christians grew up believing, the difference is stark. It's huge. There's just a huge difference.
Yep.
I
Like, Christian people
I can't
get
speak for
traumatized.
I can't speak for Christianity. I was born and raised Jewish, so in a Reformed Jewish synagogue with the first openly lesbian rabbi in the country. So I'm just like, what do Christians grow up with? There, depending on where you are with Reformed Judaism, sometimes things can go fast and loose in terms of you can figure out what Judaism means to you or whatever. A lot of times, and so it's at least, yeah, growing up, it is just more of that vibe. And to be fair, I stopped believing for a while, like fairly early on, but that doesn't stop the cultural impact, I guess, because Christian culture is kind of very pervasive in America.
It is.
And it's so hard trying to have that conversation with people who are born and raised Christian.
Just a bit.
But yeah,
I have
sorry.
trouble and I know what I'm talking about, so.
Yeah, that being said, we should wrap up soon. Joey, where can people find you? Is there anything you want to promote or whatnot? Even if it's not something you did, like something another creator did that you thought was good or something. I don't know. Up to you.
Yeah, I think everybody should check out At Home in My Head, and also its sister channel, The Cottage at Woodland Corners, that Tracy Harris has been doing. She's been posting up some really good video shorts on like how to do her recipe for chicken pot pie, for example.
That's At Home in My Head, and what was the other one again?
The Cottage at Woodland Corners.
Google makes everything worse. Whatever. Cottage at Woodland Corners. Wait, is that the one with chicken pot pie and
yes
stuff? And
that's the
a
latest
bunch of
one.
pies and a bunch of cottage stuff, but a lot of pies and cornbread and okay. Yes. Oh, Context Wrench may have gotten the second one. Christy, where can people find you? And is there anything you're working on or that you want to promote? It doesn't have to be your stuff.
Promote? No, I'm Schaefer the Dark Lord. I didn't even know that he's still. No, he is still active because he played in Rochester about 6 months ago. So I know Schaefer the Dark Lord. So yeah, but I like him. So there you go.
Okay. And yeah, as for me, at the moment, I have life stuff that I thought I had addressed to some degree, but haven't. Well, so you're mostly gonna be able to find me here, and something I want to promote. I suggested it, and I'm like, oh wait, what would I want to? I mean, I guess because I referenced it earlier, the one Behind the Bastards, or just because it's a good podcast. Anyways, have a wonderful time, everyone. Take care of yourself, and
Life voice.
your life matters, your voice matters, and you matter. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.